back under the alcohol, doing a 2-inch block lift kit. So little talk through, 3 bolts on the top mount. Now all of these are like properly rusted, so you've got to work it, undo it, tighten it, clean it, undo it, tighten it, clean it, and it's 15 minutes a bolt. It's ridiculous. Bottom shock off, pull the shock absorber out. Now I would tell you to take the drop link off, but mine is snapped, so we're going to replace that at the same time. So as we can see here, we're doing all of this at the side of the road. It's a relatively easy lift kit to install. We're just doing the blocks on this first install, so the idea of the actual build would be later on in the year, possibly early next year, would be to decide on a full lift kit. But until I am 100% set on what lift kit I want to go for, what height, what size wheels, we're gonna stick with these cheap little blocks, get out, get going and see what's what, and then we know where to spend money. So we're working these top 3 bolts to get the top mount off. They're very, very rusted, very seized in, so it's a case of work it back and forth, and just as you see that it's getting tight, feel it getting tight, we back it back off again, clean the threads, WD-40, work it back in, and it's a lengthy process, but it's worth doing this gently and slowly and taking your time, and that way you don't end up with snap bolts and having to restud it like I did the other side. So lesson learnt myself, take one from me and don't snap these studs. So as we can see here, I've got 2 of the 3 bolts out, nice and easy, awkward but easy. Now the last bolt in the back there is buried right underneath the arch here, so a little bit of gentle massaging and make a bit more space here to fit the ratchet in, and we should be able to get it. But if we don't, we're going to cut it, because these are studs, so I can knock it out and replace it, no problem. Bolt out, take the strut out, and then once the strut's out we can fit the spacer, and then the hard part of getting it all back together. So as we can see here, we've just taken the hammer and made a little bit of space into the guard. We're just going to move it a little bit more, get it bent out of shape, just so that we can get the ratchet in there and not round off the actual nut, because it's more important to me than the inner guard. The guard is already get undersealed anyway, so where we're scratching it up is not an issue. We're not going to cause any rust. It's all cosmetic damage, which with a 4x4 happens quite often anyway. So we get this last one off, move on to the next step. So just here, we're just taking the lower shock bolt out. It's very simple. It's 19mm. A little bit awkward to get to the other side just to clamp it, but it turned out that it was that seized in there anyway that it didn't need holding the other side with the spanner, so we just whizzed that off with a buzz gun. Give it a little tap to free it up. We'll drop it down, pry it up to take the weight off the bolt, and hopefully not damage any threads on the way out. Now that we do have this shock absorber out, we're just going to give it a little wire wheel, a little wire brush, just to get off all the loose flakes of rust, and then we'll hit it with the underseal, because these shocks are going to get replaced anyway, so it's purely a cosmetic tidy up. I do not recommend this for any purpose other than a cosmetic tidy up, as we're doing, just to make the arch look a little bit nicer. We're going to get the lift blocks on now. It's very simple. The lift blocks are basically a new top mount that is 2 inches bigger. We use the original bolts to hold the block to the shock, and then the new bolts will hold this block to the body mount itself. It's very simple, but I do take the time here to work the original nuts up and down the studs on the top mount, just so that we've got a nice clean thread to work the bolts back on. It saves all that struggling that we had in the arch in the first place. It's not a necessary step, but it does make your life a lot easier, and it takes seconds to do, especially with a buzz gun. You just wind it on, wind it off, and then when you come to actually install it, like you see here with the spanner, it's a lot simpler and a lot smoother. That's pretty much your lift, doing it very on the cheap. Now the plans for this old girl is a full kit later this year, but we're going to get this summer out of the way and see what it can do. You can see we've got the arch tidied up, a little bit of underseal. It's just a cosmetic at this point. It has been wire wheeled and undersealed, but there are patches where we're going to go over this anyway when I do the full underseal later on in the year. Now I've got the new drop link on, which you can't see from this angle, but it's very simple install, 2 bolts top and bottom, and made a lot easier with the buzz gun. We will be doing a full wire wheel rust treatment and underseal, like I say, later in the year. For now we want to get out and use it, and I just want to make sure that I'm happy with the setup before I go about changing anything, because there's nothing worse than working on a car underneath it that is covered in underseal. It's great for the car, but it's horrendous for you. You get that stuff on your hands and it does not come off. You can see the fitment here looking pretty good. We still have the rears to do, but it is drivable at this current state, so we're going to wait for the weather to break as it is currently raining. So you can see here that the wheel has been catching ever so slightly, just on a short little test around the block. Now it's a very simple fix, it's all plastic and cosmetic for to start with. We're going to cut the mod guard off and chop the plastic arch, then we'll attack the seam weld, pinch weld a little bit, hit it with a hammer and flatten it back where needed and cut off the rest, seam seal it so it's protected, and that should see us with enough clearance. We did have audio, but the wind noise has made it absolutely impossible to use. You can see that we've chopped it, pushed it back and undersealed as we said. Just tidied up the arch with a wire wheel and some rust treatment on the areas that were particularly bad, but nothing too bad. We've tidied up the caliper, give it a wire wheel and a little coat of black paint. I have used high temp paint. I'm not worried about the paint on the disc, it will scratch off almost instantaneously. So we've taken a relatively quite a lot of plastic off, but nothing major, nothing that you're going to actually see unless you really look at it and you really know the vehicle. You can see here we just get the wheel back on, get it all lined up, and then we go into a clearance testing. So the easiest way I've found to test your clearance is basically just to get it on the ground, full lock it left to right, check it. When it's full locked right, check your rear corner, because you can see there where it's close to the inner arch that we trimmed, and then when it's full lock left you can do the same thing and you check the front side of the tyre then against the chassis leg and the opposite side of the car for your inner arch, and you basically just do this, work the wheel left and right and make sure that you've got clearance everywhere. There is situations where you will end up rubbing no matter what on full flex or hard off-roading, but we try and minimize that as much as possible to avoid damage to your tires, avoid damage to your arches, and basically keep the car running as smoothly as possible as though it came out the factory. This right here is the prime example of why we do a clearance test before just full sending it off-road. You can see there where we had barely a finger's gap, so we're going to adjust that. Before we do any further testing, we'll get the wheel back off, trim it down where it's needed, and hopefully have no further issues. This is just showing where on the last clip you saw it was a little bit tight on clearance, so we've adjusted it, and now we do the same thing, work it back and forth, make sure we've got no further issues, and that is the clearance check-in done, ready to get out and do a full on-road test. So I do obviously have the dashboard apart, all these are apart, and in the back, because we're doing a little bit of custom paint work, which will match the build in the back. Some similar sort of design to this, just to make this a little one-of-one build. So that is the lift kit on the front. You can see the difference. The wheels touch nicely to the arch, and it should be a good little all-rounder.